Thanks, Sally, and good morning, everyone. Good to see you. We've got a couple of folk who are going to kind of have a structured conversation about their experience of using food banks. One of whom is unemployed and not in work, and one of whom is in work. Because it has been a feature of the UK deterioration, the numbers of people being dragged into destitution and cessations of all sorts of benefits, including ESA, GSA, who have either been in work or not been in work. The couple of examples we have are of real people, fictitious names, and in a way that tells its own story. There's a stigma around using food banks. You could say people shouldn't feel shame about using food banks. I would say the shame should really be us as a society that has allowed a situation to develop whereby people have to use food banks. People have to use the kindness and generosity of organisations who provide emergency food aid. So it's about listening to the experts, those who experience food poverty, and hearing their views and about how we move from a society dependent on food banks to a society with a different model of adequate food provision for everyone. So I'd like to invite a couple of folk up to stage. It's Janet and who else? And Alan is speaking on behalf of Alice. So we have Janet and Alice speaking the words that a couple of folk have expressed in relation to their feeling about food banks and the use of them. So, Janet and Alice, good to see you. You've kindly agreed to come today as people who have used the services of a food bank. Could you please tell us very briefly the story of how that came to happen? How about you, Alice, to begin with?
I found a leaflet in my GP. I spoke to someone at Jobs and Business Glasgow and asked if I could go to a food bank. I needed to use the food bank because I was only working 10 hours a week and did not have the right information about getting working tax and child credits. I'm still using the food bank now because my housing benefit was stopped as well.
Okay, could everybody hear that okay? Maybe if you could bring the mic in a wee bit closer.
Sorry.
Okay, hopefully that'll be better. Now we'll move over to Janet.
Janet said, I came to use food banks because I'd previously been in receipt of Employment Support Allowance of £130 per week for myself, my partner and my daughter. My ESA was up for review, and while I awaited a decision to find out if I was still getting it, my benefit was reduced to £57 per week. As my electric bill was £20, other bills another £20, TV licence, phone and gas, I was left with £7 per week for food. I couldn't feed a family of 3 in this, so was given food vouchers for the Trussell Trust.
Thank you, Janet. As I say, Alice, who's about to come on to our next question, she's someone who is in work and experiencing food poverty. So we'll go on to question 2. Were people able to hear Elaine there? Okay, good. Going on to question 2. Alice, when you realised that finding the money to buy food was a big problem, did you find any help from government or the local authority?
Finally now, I'm starting to get this sorted out. In 10 hours, I was not getting any help from the government, but now that I'm in 16 hours, I can claim these benefits.
And Janet?
I had no support from any government or local authority agencies. I could not access the food bank on the day I received the voucher, as the food bank was in a different part of the city and I had no money for the bus fare there. No one told me where I could try to get help and try and get the bus fares.
And going back to Janet for our next question, was it a big step for you to contact your local food bank and get involved with them?
I was very reluctant to use the food bank. I'd rather have gone without food than use one, but I had to think of my family. I felt ashamed and very upset that my financial situation had sunk so low. I was very depressed, which had a big impact on both my physical and my mental health.
And Alice?
I suppose it was. It did help me quite a lot with my children. The first time I was a little worried. I found it easier with time. The staff were supportive and friendly, and that helped me not to be ashamed to come.
So there's a couple of experiences of people talking about how it felt to use a food bank. And kind of building on that, the next question is, maybe if both of you could reflect on how you found the approach of the food bank volunteers you were dealing with. Janet.
The volunteers at the food bank were very friendly and non-judgmental. They were also helpful in inquiring what food I would like. As I have a chronic illness, I am unable to eat many foods. This was a great idea, having a choice to suit people with different dietary needs.
Alice?
I found them very supportive, encouraging in helping people around them who required help with food and any advice with benefits.
Looking to the future, as we all are today, and seeing how we can move beyond the traditional model of a food bank, which many of you are already doing, but listening to you both who experience food poverty, could you help us by giving us your views on how Scotland could become a better, more just place when it comes to emergency food or other resource provision? Janet.
Scotland could become a more just society in regards to emergency food provision by firstly challenging Westminster to stop cutting people's welfare payments. They should also encourage food bank providers to try and source fruit and vegetables in their donations. Too much rice, pasta and tinned goods will lead to vitamin deficiency and malnutrition. All food banks should join ranks and challenge the government to not use them to replace food provision that the government is legally required to pay benefits for. Also, people should be given toilet rolls at food banks. This is a necessity and will be appreciated very much.
Alice.
The government helps quite a lot with single parents. I'm not sure what could be changed, but if my applications for benefits, like my housing benefit, my tax credits, were done a bit faster, people might not need so much help with the food bank.
Okay, we kind of come to the final question. Say two people here, one in poverty who works and one in food poverty who doesn't. And what I want both of you to do is to tell us, starting with you, Janet, somebody who's not in work and in food poverty, is there anything else you want to tell us as we go into our discussions today?
Janet said, food banks are a lifeline to many, but should not be used to replace benefits by the government. More local community gardens could be invested in to allow people to grow their own fruit and vegetables to supplement food bank foods.
Thank you very much. And finally from Alice, somebody who is in work and experiencing food poverty.
Alice said that working 10 hours a week and not having the tax credits in addition to that was really, really difficult. It had a big impact. It had a major effect on us. I had to pay for a babysitter when I was at work, so I was left not much money for items like food or nappies. This was quite stressful, but the food bank helped me a lot by getting me stuff for my girls. This was so important. And she also says, I've received a lot of financial advice, especially about how to sort my benefits out since coming to the food bank and through Drumchapel Life.
Okay, thank you very much. And obviously they're not here to receive our thanks, but speaking for all of us in Faith and Community Scotland, we're extremely grateful to the two individuals who were willing to have their story told and who gave a lot of consideration to answering these questions. Thank you.